Gentlemen, we must not let the fellow marry the Grand Duchess. We must act tonight. Are you with me?
Absolutely.
Eh? We will refresh the legend of the bridal chamber.
Legend?
You do not know the legend of the bridal chamber?
We will tell you the tale. It's a terrible story.
The bridal chamber holds a secret grim and gory.
The bridal chamber holds a secret grim and gory. To the Duchess Max was a lover, but he ran wild. Then a pretty young peasant discovered she bore his child. While in honor he promised to wed her, it wasn't smart, for the Duchess felt he had misled her, broken her heart when she discovered his deceit. Rage, rage filled the hall. She swore when headed in his suite that his head would fall, his head would fall, his head would fall, his head would fall. Within the walls of that room near his bride did he lie, never knowing his doom, unrequited he died. Sad was the fate of Baron Max Edlitz, of Baron Max Edlitz, Edlitz von Klein and Klein. Sad was the fate of Baron Max Edlitz, of Baron Max Edlitz, Edlitz von Klein and Klein. Sedlitz, Sedlitz, Sedlitz von Klein and Klein. Sedlitz, Sedlitz, Sedlitz von Klein and Klein. But the Duchess assassins had hired to enter there. Mid the happiness of the occasion, Max did hear the soft dread of the deadly invasion. As it drew near, one moment Max's bride leaned over to touch his face. The next, above his manly shoulder, an empty space, with little grace, she fled that place. Within the walls of this room near his bride did he die, and tonight in that gloom our dear Fritz will be nigh. Sad was the fate of Baron Max Edlitz, poor Baron Max Edlitz, Edlitz von Klein and Klein. And since we hate that misbegotten Fritz, that misbegotten Fritz will be next in that line. Get Fritz, get Fritz, get Fritz, that filthy swine. Get Fritz, get Fritz, get Fritz, that filthy swine. Now do you understand the tale? I understand, but I am frightened. Yet Fritz must perish. He'll die this very night. This very night. This very night. I'm not quite ready. The fellow dies this very night. The fellow dies this very night. 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 The fellow dies this very night. The fellow dies this very night. this very night we'll end his life. We'll make a widow of his wife, and he enjoys his bridal bed. We will appear and take his head, this very night we'll end his life. We'll make a widow of his wife, and he enjoys his bridal bed. We will appear and take his head.
Sink me, lads, it seems a little rough, and not to mention somewhat messy. Bashing him ought to be enough. Decapitation's too distressing.
All right, we'll bash him on the head. All right, as long as he is dead.
When we are certain he's inside, into the passage we will creep. Then in the darkness we will hide, and at the proper time we'll leap into the passage we will creep. And at the proper time we'll leap.
We'll creep with tiny, tiny steps.
We'll creep with tiny, tiny steps.
With tiny
steps. This very night we'll end his life. We'll make a widow of his wife, and he enjoys his bridal bed. We will appear and bash his head.
It's agreed, we swear, we have made a pact. None of us will back down from the cause he completes its confidence. Each one will act. We are the three Paul, Boum, and Dietz. We are the three Paul, Boum, and Dietz.
On my honor, Paul. On my honor, Boum. On my honor, Paul.
On my honor, Dietz.
We're Paul, Boum, Dietz. We're Paul, Boum, Dietz.
Paul,
Boum,
Dietz.
Boum,
Paul,
Boum,
Dietz.
Boum, 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 boum. This very night we'll end his life. We'll make a widow of his wife, and he enjoys his bridal bed. We will appear and bash his head, and he enjoys his bridal bed. We will appear and bash his head. We'll bash right upon his head. We'll bash right upon his head. We'll